So today I'm going to teach you how to make a veggie ground beef using tofu and carrots. While the tofu is cooking, I have about 5 medium-ish carrots that I've washed and peeled, and I'm just going to kind of give these a rough chop so that we can add them to some soy sauce for a little bit of a marinade and then pop them in the oven with the tofu just to soften slightly. I have this bowl that I used for tofu. I just don't want to dirty another bowl. So I'm going to throw these carrot slices in, and then I'm going to get some soy sauce and mix a little bit of that in as well, just to kind of get them a little wet so we don't need to use so much oil. And I'm going to pop them in the oven. I have the tofu cooking for about 30 minutes in the oven, and I'm going to kind of toss it around in between here and there. But the carrots I'm only going to put in for the last 15 minutes of that because I still want a little bit of bite to them. I don't want them to be mushy. So I'm going to spread them out on this pan. Again, all we needed to use was a little bit of soy sauce on them. The tofu and the carrots are baking away in the oven. So now I found a little bit of a yellow onion in my fridge. And what I'm going to do is just take about a quarter of this onion and chop it up so that I can add that to the ground beef mixture when I am putting it in the food processor. I'm also going to chop up about a half a cup of this cilantro because it just adds the perfect flavor to the meat when it's all finished. And if you don't like cilantro, you can leave it out, but I would give it a try. It's not very strong in the meat. It just adds a little something to it that I love. Now that I have all of that chopped up, I'm going to make a seasoning blend for the ground beef. This is kind of a little mixture. This is a half a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of flour, and just a quarter teaspoon of tapioca flour just to kind of bind everything a little bit together. So I'm going to put that in. And then I learned this off of a different blog. This guy was using a half a teaspoon of cocoa powder in his mixture, and I thought that looked pretty good. So we're gonna put that in and give everything a good whisk, and then set this aside, and then I'm gonna go to the oven and check on how crispy the tofu is getting. Maybe I have to stir it a little bit and make sure the carrots are softening up. So these carrots came out just perfect. They're just a little bit squishy, but not cooked all the way through. And I love that texture. So I'm gonna be putting some of them into the food processor now with some of the onions and some of the cilantro and blending them together. So here's the consistency of what it might look like, if you can kind of see that there. I think it's perfect once it gets browned up in the pan with some of those spices. It's going to resemble ground beef. I'm gonna go now and give the carrots a bit of a stir on about medium heat, and I'm gonna add in the spices and stir everything together till it's coming together quite nicely, and then I'll take the tofu out and add that in. I have the crispy tofu in the pan with the carrots, onions, cilantro, and spices. And I'm just gonna do one last step and add a little bit of miso paste to the pan now that I'm gonna turn the heat down. You don't wanna ever heat miso paste too much. It just kills all the beneficial things that are involved with it. So I'm gonna add that in at the end and a little bit of water to the pan until it all mixes together. Look at how good this turned out. It smells so delicious in here. I have a nice veggie ground that I'm gonna put in my refrigerator this week to use in tacos, stews, lasagna, whatever I want to use it for this week. And I have it ready to go. You can also freeze it for a couple months in the freezer to use on hand when you want it. You can even make a double batch so you have extra to freeze, and it's always ready to go. A delicious protein because of the tofu in there, veggie-based meat alternative. Oh, the texture is great. The cayenne pepper adds just a little bit of kick to it, so you can leave that out if you want, but I love it. So delicious.